got part 2 coming. This is going to be the passenger side.
Yep.
We're just going to kind of breeze through this one.
So here we're on the back fender again, on the passenger side. You can see me, I've laid out my piece of material. I'm cutting around. I'm not cutting too far up. I'm giving myself plenty of room, trying to make this thing as smooth as I can before I start smoothing out the flat parts.
Okay, now, one thing to realize is when he had that material over that tire, that section of film that he's going to cut out, you do not want to use the section that was rubbing against the tire.
Yeah, I'm planning on not using that.
That is something that when you're going to save those pieces, either go ahead and cut that whole section out and disregard it, but do not use where it had rubbed against the tire. You don't know if it's picked up any kind of rocks or anything like that is now stuck on the back of that film.
And there you see me, I'm going around where the hinges are for the back gate of this Jeep. Those hinges actually have caps on it.
Gotcha.
So all I'm doing is I'm pulling the vinyl in as close to the hinge as I can. I'm not worried about how nice that edge looks right up against the hinge, because it's going to be, all I care about is it sticks good. It's adhering to the vehicle good. And then I put the cap over it and it looks perfect after that. But get the flats out first, all those little tiny indentions where the body lines are, you push those in nice and neat, make sure they're sticking good. You don't want to try to stretch that vinyl too much and then try to force it in too deep, because it will eventually release. Some guys, I don't know how often it's used anymore, but there is a liquid called a primer that you can actually put in real tight recess areas, and it helps with adhesion for those areas. It helps make the vinyl bond to that and stay better. So that is a possible if you run across a vehicle where you have a certain spot where it's got a real tight dip or area that you're concerned about lifting over time. Take some of this primer, they call it.
Well,
dip
the
it in
Jeep
there.
was a pretty straightforward vehicle in this one.
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of nice. Now, one thing always, once again, I'm going to embed this into you guys, is make sure you are post-heating before you start putting on any gaskets, before you start doing anything. Make sure that is post-heated. That is so important. I mean, you gotta,
as well as the cleaning.
The cleaning.
All the prepping involved.
Because you have your customers spending a lot of money with you, and they're expecting this product to be well done. So, last thing you need is I'm gonna save myself a half an hour and not post-heat this one section, and you'll come back and bite you.
It is much easier to do it as you're going, and you don't have to worry about it and getting it all before you start adding pieces back on the vehicle. But again, this wrap was done a few months ago, and it's kind of a test for us as well. You know, how I did this, we'll start to see if anything fails on it. We can say, look guys, when we did this, you know.
And you had one thing that fell down.
Yeah, I did.
You didn't post-heat the one section.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to that in the video, but it was the hood
Okay.
part. But yeah, I'll describe to you what happened on that one.
So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. So now we're doing the pillar on the other side.
Hearing that material he's cutting off right there, that's perfect for any of that front area.
As long as you're putting it on in the same direction.
Yeah, as long as you put it on the same direction.
I knew because those were long vertical pieces, I probably wasn't going to use those anywhere.
Well, and one more thing that we completely forgot to talk about is when you bring that vehicle into the shop, make sure that you have mopped the floor, okay? If you have not mopped that floor and you're dragging your material around, you are going to have all kinds of dirt and grime get on your material, and that's going to be a problem. So always make sure your shop has been swept and mopped before.
Shop, garage, whatever. If you're getting into it first time, my suggestion is you try it on your own vehicle.
Yeah.
You have, that way you can take your time on it. You can just try a section of your vehicle, see how it works, and then as you start getting more comfortable, you do more of it, you know. But, you know, when I started out, we wrapped our vans a few years ago, and that was the only other wrap that I've done. Everything else that I've installed, as well as Ron, has been our graphics, our bread and butter, you know, for you guys and everybody out there, we like this wrap material also because this is the same stuff we cut some of our kits out of as well.
Yeah, and that's just it. I mean, this, when you're wrapping a vehicle like this, it is completely different than just normal graphics. I mean, as you notice, there is no masking. You're just going straight on vinyl. So that's where the squeegees are very important. Okay, that's where the techniques that you start learning on how to squeegee. If you miss sections, you're going to find out pretty quick, especially when you post-heat it, that bubbles will appear. Well, the nice part with this film is you can go back and you can fix that very simply. But the squeegees have a nice felt edge on it that does not scratch the surface as much. Now, with gloss films, you're going to see a little bit more scratching issues. Well, the nice part of that is you can actually wet down that surface of that felt squeegee, and it will glide across and it won't scratch material as bad, especially on chrome.
Heat kind of takes some of the
heat. That's the other thing with the post-heating is when you're done, a lot of those scratches in post-heat will take care of a lot of that fine scratching.
And I just want you to know, I did this whole Jeep in one day and I changed my shirt like 6 times.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. There's a nice like little wardrobe change. You know?
No, it took me a few days to do it, but we wanted to do it right.
Yeah.
You know, but this was not something where I just, okay, I'm not doing anything but wrapping this Jeep today, and we just hit it. It was kind of in between here and there as we went along. That's why you kind of see.
Well, and for some reason, you guys like him developing kits for some reason. So it's one of those where he had to go help you guys out a little bit. So.
No, Ron does an excellent job with some of that stuff.
Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome.
And here, like I'm going around the front of that, and what I'll do, you don't see it now, but there's actually a little plate on that corner right in front of where that side mirror is that I'll do separately.
Gotcha. Right where those
holes are. Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. And then that piece that's coming down, that's another separate piece. I'll do that as well.
Now there are guys out there that will actually pay. A lot of you guys have friends in the body shops. A lot of you guys have friends that are mechanics.
Yeah, you didn't want to do that part.
So if you have a friend and you say, "Look, I'll give you $100 if you just will come out here, take off all the accessories because they know how to do it, and then put it back on." Do it, and then you're going to save a lot of that time. That way, when you come in the morning, that vehicle's ready for you to start wrapping.
Well, it's just a more finished look. Now, if you have a wrap and this guy, the customer's telling you, this is only going to be on for a year, I'm not worried about it going under everything, as well as it has to, then you can make that decision with the customer at that point,
Now, the other thing that we will be getting into is we're going to be getting into a digital side, a digital series that's going to start covering how do you get into the digital printing, how do you get involved with getting the art to us and everything else. And that is very important that you understand how the wrapping process works. Mm-hmm. So when we are designing, or you have got someone designing your wraps, you know how it's going to be installed. So this is a great way to lead you into digital printing.
There's that little corner piece now. I'm starting. Now, again,
look like you're wrapping your knee.
Yeah, I know. It does kind of look like it there. Again, I'm folding all this material under, so when I put that plate back on, you're not seeing any of the gray on the edges.
Gotcha. So you're giving yourself extra material.
Yeah, you see it about a 1/2 inch outside of that, and I'll start wrapping that over and pulling it in. Make sure it's adhered to the back side real well, and then when I put that plate back on and screw it down, it's going to look finished,
And make sure you heat that part before you put it on. Make sure you heat that bottom side, because that's very important. That way that adhesion has built up some strength there.
All right.